Watch Dogs 1 is a great game, and Ubisoft are a great company who for some reason makes iconic and loved villains. I must say, one of the most underrated Ubisoft villains has to be from the great game Watch Dogs 1, which is Damien Brenks. Damien Brenks is a great villain, and I and a lot of other people for some reason find it extremely easy to hate him. But why is this? Why do we hate this very obsessed, very dangerous, very crippled man?
They made me crippled!
Well, in this video, I'm going to be answering that question and telling you why Damien Brenks is such a good villain. The first time we see Damien is actually in the opening cutscene to Watch Dogs 1, and while technically this isn't the first time we meet Damien in person in the game, it is technically the first time we hear and see Damien. This cutscene is very brief and it is set before Watch Dogs 1 when Damien and Aiden were working together, so I'll very briefly go over it. The thing that I pick up from this opening cutscene the most is the fact that though we see Damien and Aiden work together here, it's very clear that Damien has at least always been motivated by his own self-interests. Well, how do I know this? Well, he says probably the most cliched line ever used in fiction, the "it's all mine" line.
Look at that. Secrets and lies floating in a cloud of data. I just reach out, pluck it from the sky, and it's mine.
It's ours. Stay focused.
And trust me, I know this comes across as very corny, but it does fit Damien's character very well when we look at him in more detail, so let's do that. The first time we actually meet Damien is when Aiden is tracking down someone who's making mysterious and scary phone calls threatening his sister. He links this to Damien. Seeing Damien for the first time, he is drunk, or at least in the process of getting drunk. He has a very noticeable limp, which we could guess is from an injury, hence why he has a knee brace on. When we enter the cutscene with Damien, this very daunting and strange music starts to play. Not evil, not scary, but almost creepy, almost implying that Damien will play a bigger role than this cutscene is going to show us. The music almost serves as a warning to the player for Damien's character in the future.
Aren't you a clever boy? Tricks on me.
Damien asks Aiden if he's missed him, to which Aiden ignores his question and asks why he hired someone to scare his sister. Damien frowns at this question, to which he drops his bottle of wine on the floor and it shatters.
Tricks on me.
Damien.
Tell me you miss me.
You had that punk call my sister. Why am I here, Damien?
This could symbolise Damien and Aiden's relationship breaking right there and then, almost showing us the player that from this point onwards these two characters will not get on and will not see eye to eye whatsoever. Damien also kicks the broken, shattered glass away from him, almost to symbolise to us the player that he is rejecting this new version of Aiden, the version of Aiden that won't work with him. Damien explains in a very frustrated tone that he wants his partner back. He wants Aiden to work with him again. Damien explains to Aiden that they both deep down want the same thing. They both want to know who screwed them over in their last job they worked together on, the Merlette job. Aiden gets annoyed at this because he lost a niece because of the Merlette job. Projecting his anger and frustration onto Damien, he claims that the loss of his niece was partly his fault because he was too greedy and took too long to stop hacking. But then Damien quickly claps back at Aiden, saying before Aiden brought any of this up, he should have stuck by him in the first place, and now that he's brought up his niece dying, Damien says to Aiden that it's as much his fault as it is Aiden's.
You bailed on a perfectly good scheme. No one would have found out if you had just stood by me.
6-year-old girl. My niece died because you went too far.
Oh, you're adorable. Blaming your family problems on me? Damien crossed the line, he made the bad man angry. What about me?
Damien says they made him a cripple and they took away Aiden's niece, so both of the men want the same thing, really.
You're not the only one suffering. They made me crippled. They took everything from me. Don't you see? That's what binds us together.
Damien says it's what binds the two men together, but Aiden says Damien has nothing he needs. Damien, for the first time in the cutscene, moves very quickly over to Aiden, telling him that he knows there was a Secker hacker on the Millet job and he knows how to find him. But without even saying that he needs Aiden's help or asking for help, Aiden already knows that he won't be able to do it without him. Aiden calls Damien's bluff and tells him he doesn't need his help and he'll just find the hacker on his own, to which Damien, in what seems like a very desperate move, grabs Aiden's arm, almost begging him, saying, but Aiden simply walks off. The scene ends with Damien stumbling backwards, looking behind him in disgust at Aiden. This introduction cutscene is incredibly clever for two reasons. The first one being you don't know that Damien is the main villain, and the second one being you don't for a minute expect that Damien will be the main villain. Damien in this scene is just kind of a creepy, weird guy with some serious problems.
They made me cripple!
Okay.
Damien comes across as almost weak and desperate in this scene, something he'll be the opposite of in later cutscenes in the game. I think it's also important to talk about how good the camera work is in this scene and how much justice it gives Damien's character. The camera does some really weird things, like get extremely close up to Damien, which almost gives him this weird sense of control in the grand scheme of things, but then it will back up, showing both the men standing together, making both the men seem very small. The camera work does a really good job of showing Damien in an evil light, as if he is a man that for some reason you just don't want to mess with and holds more power than he looks like he does. And of course, this contrasts with Damien's physical appearance and how he's portraying himself, which overall makes this introduction near perfect, and I love it. The next time we see Damien in Watch Dogs 1, he is not weak at all, or at least he is controlling over the situation he's in.
Where are they?
Such a waste. All of this, it's such a waste. You know, the real tragedy here is that somebody like you was surrounded by so many fragile things. It makes you fragile.
Damien kidnaps Aiden's sister and tells him they're going to be working together whether he likes it or not. He does this to take revenge on the people who crippled his left knee, and he also wants to find out who the second hacker was on the Merlet job. He needs Aiden for these two things. Because of the condition of his knee, he can't do out on the field work. But what makes Damien easy to dislike from the very start of the game is how he uses other people to achieve his goals. Damien needs to take revenge, but he can't do it himself, so he needs Aiden. Aiden, however, of course, won't work with Damien, so he uses his sister, Nikki, as a bargaining tool to make Aiden work for him. This is one of the most straightforward and easy ways to get the player to hate a villain. It's by using the main character's friends slash allies slash companions and often weaker characters in the story who overall don't have anything to do with the problems the main character is facing as a bargaining tool to achieve their goals in the story. Here it's done really well as well, because not only do we feel obviously sorry for Aiden, we really feel sorry for Nikki, Aiden's sister, who is just a normal woman trying to live her life who has been dragged into this, but we feel even worse for her son, Jax, who not only nearly gets kidnapped at the start of the game, but then does get kidnapped later on in the game, and he's only a kid. All this makes us feel extremely bad for Jax, because at the end of the day, he is only a kid. Aiden's family is all he really has, so to see them get ripped away from him is extremely saddening. Furthermore, it's even more frustrating because Damien is no physical threat to Aiden.
Where?
He merely has Aiden's sister, which means Aiden can't go after him and can't touch him, even though Aiden probably knows Damien won't actually kill or hurt his sister. He doesn't want to take that risk, and I don't blame him. And this makes it even harder to listen to this dickhead taunt and tell Aiden what to do. All this makes Damien a very easy character to hate. Now, I for one think it's extremely important to have a villain who affects the player throughout the whole of the game, because while there are some great villains out there, a lot of them only affect the player for a very short period of time. And with some villains, it really does feel like they're not in the main story all that much, or at least not in the middle part of the main story too much. Now, Damien, luckily for us, does not have this issue, because he is throughout the whole story very present. He's especially present in the middle part of the story because everything we're doing is to get our sister back from Damien. We are also constantly reminded by him because he calls the player so much. You see, we don't actually see Damien face to face all that that much at all, really. But Damien does call the player a lot throughout the game, often asking Aiden how he's getting on finding the hacker and how he's getting on finding the people who screwed him over during the Millet job. He also sometimes gives Aiden a little bit of time to speak to his sister. This is great because while we don't see Damien very much in person, we do hear him a lot over the phone, and this is perfect for Damien's character. This also shows us, the player, that Damien is always watching us, or at least listening in to make sure we're still following his orders. This overall makes the stakes feel a lot higher because it feels like Damien is always watching or listening in to make sure we're following his exact orders. Now it's time. It's time to see if in the final confrontation with Damien's character, is it handled well? And is this final conclusion a good send-off to a great villain? Well, yes he did. In fact, his ending is great. In one of the final missions of Watch Dogs 1, Aiden locates where his sister is and saves her from a warehouse that Damien's been keeping her in. Damien calls Aiden, telling him that they used to be partners and that he's tipped off the police on Aiden's location and that Aiden should be very careful.
You think Nikki's safe? You think this is over?
It's over for Nikki, but not for you.
Not to spoil the plans, but company's on the way. Chicago police just got a big tip on the vigilante.
This all a game to you, Damien?
Oh, sure. It's just a game. I'm in it for the yucks. You've disappointed me, Aiden. We were partners. You blame me for what? Ambition?
I blame you for your greed.
It's weird that Damien keeps going on and on about Aiden and him working together and being partners once. It's almost like he's obsessed and didn't want him leaving him. It's almost like he's obsessed with going back to the way things were and hates this new version of Aiden that won't work with him. Aiden finds out who the second hacker was on the Millet job, and it turns out it was a woman named Clara, a woman Aiden had been working with very closely. She had been working very closely with Aiden as she knew she was one of the reasons Aiden's niece died, and she wanted to make things right by working with him. Unfortunately, Damien also found out that Clara was the second hacker, so he sent mercenaries called Fixers to kill Clara, which they did. In the final mission of Watch Dogs 1, Aiden is looking at all the people who hurt and betrayed him and all the data he has collected. But this data also has secrets. Secrets of good, everyday working, normal people who could get hurt, a city that could fall. So Aiden decides to wipe all of the data out, destroying all the data. Damien then very furiously calls Aiden, telling him that they did all that just for him to destroy the data.
After everything we've suffered, you just give it all away? What have you done? Are you mad?
I don't know anymore. But I do know Nikki's safe. And I know you'll pay for Clara.
You think you're the hero in all this? Read your old press. You're a terror to this city. You and your vainglorious bullshit. Come on, then. Come and get me. Let's finish this. Oh, but there's one thing I forgot to mention. You'll like this. I've unlocked CTOS. Completely. I am inside the system. And you are in for a show.
Damien now sounds insane, and he tells Aiden that they're going to have a final fight. But first, he's hacked all the CTOS systems in the city, and he's causing chaos. So Aiden needs to stop him, so first he'll have to shut down all the CTOS systems that Damien's using. Damien will contact you throughout your attempts to stop him, mocking you. Damien at this point has nearly completely lost it.
CTOS. It really is a wonder of human ingenuity. A model system making a model city for model citizens. I wonder what Bloom said about potential hacks to the system. Sound debate, I'm sure. Hackers, so relax. Our CTOS is the most advanced blah-blah blah blah. Hubris, Aiden. It'll get you every time.
Once you shut down all the CTOS systems, you find where Damien is and you go after him, but not before he calls you, telling you that all this is Aiden's fault, trying to gaslight him and trying to manipulate him. However, Aiden at this point in the game is too mentally strong for Damien's tactics, so goes after Damien in the old lighthouse.
In the back. She helped kill your precious Lena. You know it's true.
What about you? Some might blame you for Lena's death.
I wonder who would think that, huh? But why stop there? Perhaps we should blame you. As I recall, the Murloc job was your plan.
I blame myself every day for the plan, for meeting you, for not stopping you when I had the chance. I don't make that mistake anymore. I see a problem, I step in.
Oh yes, the Vigilante. I've read your headlines.
You're the only problem I see now, and I'm coming for you.
Once you reach the lighthouse, Damien continues to run his ego, telling Aiden that the two of them would have been an unstoppable force together, as if some little part of him still wants to work with Aiden, weirdly.
When I first decided to pool our talents, the schemes we were planning, we had so much drive, but never like this. Look outside. We've taken down a goddamn city!
Once we reach the top of the lighthouse, Damien is there, but unarmed. Perhaps he's trying to convince, or plans to convince Aiden to join him once again. Damien tells Aiden that Clara and his niece's death were as much Aiden's fault as it was Damien's fault.
You got a speech, Damien? Anything you want to say?
You know who I am now?
That's it? That's all you got?
Hey, fuck you! Look at you! You plowed over people to get to a mob boss. You think you're absolved because your cause is what? Noble?
You played me. That's what this is about.
I played you! Clara is as much your fault. So is your niece. That's why you sent your family away, right? They know what you are.
Aiden, just when you think he's going to do it, just when you think he's going to put Damien down, he can't because he's an unarmed man, and he can't just pull the trigger on an unarmed man. Not yet, anyway. But it's at this very moment when Jordi shows up, a fixer you have been working with throughout the game. He shows up to tie up loose ends with you and Damien. And while yes, he is working for Damien at this section, he's definitely not very loyal to him, to say the least. Because if you fail a quick time event, it's revealed that he'll actually shoot Damien, showing his loyalty wasn't to Damien at all, he just needed to tie up loose ends. But I digress. But fast-handed Aiden hacks the nearby lighthouse light, allowing him to get the jump on Jordi, and then finally shooting Damien, ending his villainy just like that. The game ends with a monologue in which Aiden starts by talking about Damien and saying how he's not sure what he wanted in those final moments. Aiden thought Damien may have wanted death, which I think could be true. Damien may have known that either way Jordi would have turned on him in the end, but at the same time Aiden could have been talking about this in a figure of speech, saying that Damien would not survive their last moments together. But in my opinion, I think that's what makes Damien's final confrontation so strong, is that we're left guessing in the end. We don't truly know what Damien wanted. Did he truly want Jordi there just to kill Aiden? Or did he truly want to reunite some sort of partnership with Aiden? Or maybe, in the end, all he truly wanted was death. We just don't know, and I don't think we ever will know, and that's what makes Damien's character's ending so good. Because in the end, we just don't know, and this makes his final villain confrontation near to perfect and brilliant. And it's perfect and brilliant because of the fact that throughout Watch Dogs 1, Damien is quite a sporadic character. We never really know where we stand with him, so having him end off like this, not knowing where we stood with him, is near perfect. In conclusion, the reason why Damien is such a great villain is because first of all, he is made incredibly hateable by using Aiden's family to get to him. He is physically weak, which makes the player want to get Damien, but we can't touch him, which makes him even more dislikable. And then, in the end, we are left guessing what he wanted in the final confrontation of Watch Dogs 1. He's also made brilliant by the man who voiced him, Daniel Cash, who's absolutely amazing as Damien. And all this is why Damien Briggs is such an incredible villain. Thank you guys ever so much for watching this video. First of all, I want to apologise if you found that my voice changed halfway through this video. I got a bit ill when recording, but I thought I'd record anyway. So apologies for that. Also apologies that it's a bit late out, but nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys are staying safe. Let me know what you think of Damien down below in the comments. Was he a good villain? Was he a bad villain? And I'll see you all in the next video. Stay safe, guys. Peace.